Hello, brothers and sisters. My name is T-Jocka, and welcome back to the chat. Today, I have a special talk with my good friend Silas. Say hi.
Hello.
My man. He's looking at me weird. But yeah, so we've known each other for how long?
6 years?
6 years?
Maybe?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Something around there. It happened in high school. Happened in high school. I remember we actually talked about this recently about the first time we actually interacted like face to face was when Topova in art class.
Oh my god, dude.
So basically we hadn't really talked, right, beforehand.
No, I mean like we knew each other.
Yeah.
Or like we knew of each other.
Yeah,
kind of thing. Like if
yeah.
we saw each other in the halls, we might say hi or something in like grade 9 and 10 and stuff.
Yeah.
But we didn't really like interact much.
Yeah, we didn't interact. We didn't really hang out. We had different friend groups, etc.
Exactly.
But we were sitting next to each other in art class, and then our teacher was fucking insane. But we love him. He's awesome. He's just he's off his rocker, and it's always been a thing. So what happened was that we were sitting beside each other, and he's given his spiel about the class, and then all of a sudden he got into funding, and then he realized that the arts department isn't getting or wasn't getting as funded as the caretaking.
The soap dispenser.
So yeah, so he goes up to the soap dispenser to see if there's any soap there. Tries it, nothing comes out, and he goes, "There isn't even any soap." And he grabs the soap dispenser and rips it off the wall and throws it at the window. At that point, Silas and I literally just turned our heads and looked at each other.
Mouths agape.
Yeah, and Silas just goes, "So we're gonna die, man." And that's where I think that's where it started. And then we ended up sitting with a bunch of our other friends.
Yeah, that
Jen,
was good.
Nick, yada yada. So we had a little group, and then we that's where we started hanging out more and kind of getting into art together and whatever.
Yeah.
But then the years went on, and we still didn't hang out too much in high school.
No, I don't even think in grade like 11 or 12 we like ended up going to each other's houses much. I think there might have been like a few little like, get-togethers or something, but nothing where we were just like, yo, man, like, come over for a bit.
Yeah, exactly. And then, we would help each other with music stuff or whatever, but other than that, it really picked up once we started, cause we both go to OCAD as well, so that's where we started really, really, really getting close. And first year, there was so many good stories in first year.
Oh boy.
You want to tell the Arizona one?
No, I don't.
Okay.
The thing is, most of these stories are at my expense. Is the worst part, because you love it when I
know.
fuck up so much, but you love it.
It's because your reactions are so good, because you're so careful and strategic about the things that you do, and then once something slips up, your face just, oh my god, it just goes agape. It's so good. But okay, so what happened? We were it was O Day, yeah.
OCAD orientation day.
Yes.
O-Day.
Okay. O Day. So we're
It was hot.
It was quite hot. It was still in the summer. This dude was in his cargo shorts.
The days when I used to dress like that.
And an army in camouflage tank top.
Oh, nice. That's classy.
So we go to a 7-Up, right? Or
7-Eleven.
Shit. We go to a 7-Eleven and to get some snacks for the journey home.
Do we get them at 7-Eleven or like at the store in Union?
I'm pretty sure it was. I think it was 7-Eleven.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because they don't have big Arizona bottles.
True.
There. Speaking of which, Silas got a glass Arizona iced tea bottle, right?
I was feeling it.
Yeah, he was feeling it. So we get on the train, right? Nice and cozy with our plastic bags full of goodies for the ride home.
Not many people there.
Yeah, we're just hanging out, just having it was good. We did the first kind of orientation at school. We were feeling good about ourselves, starting university, yada yada yada. So Silas kind of to gain more access to his baggage, he wedges his Arizona bottle in between his legs, right?
Betwixt my thighs.
Betwixt his beige colored thighs with the cargo shorts.
No, they were the green ones.
Or they were green. My bad. I always think they're beige. But yeah. So they were like a lightish green, right?
Yeah.
And I'm looking around, just observing my surroundings, and then I turn around, and Silas just he has the knee shake, right? He's looking out the window, licking his lips a bit, turns around, looks at me, and just nonchalantly just points down. I'm like, what? I just look down. He's holding the Arizona bottle in one hand, and there's a massive wet spot on his crotch. And I lost my mind. I was laughing so hard that I was crying. And the woman,
poor woman,
the woman behind me thought I was legit crying. So she was turning around to see if I was okay. Oh my god.
I can't believe how bad it was though. Like sometimes you're like, man, like your bottle's sweating a bit or something. You put it down, and you're like, oh man, like I got a few like drops or something.
Yeah.
It looked like the entire bottle just opened up and just poured out.
Yeah, it was so
horrible.
Yeah, it was so good. It was just the condensation from the bottle. It was hilarious. Oh my god. But anyways, so that was a little bit of insight on into our kind of friendship. And yeah, we're still going, whatever in OCAD. And one thing that we always had in common was we love to. I don't think we're very strict with spirituality or religion, but we kind of research and experiment and just try new things with spirituality. I found that a common element between not only our beliefs but also in our work. Mm-hmm. So one thing, that one big thing about Silas's work is his language. He created this language in the beginning of his career at OCAD, and I mean, first of all, it's phenomenal. It's the work put into it. It's just insane. Do you want to give a little bit of insight on that?
Yeah. I mean, I guess you're the exact person that I should be talking to about this, considering the fact that you're the one who kind of like you gave me that little extra nudge. Because originally, like, it's funny, I don't even have tattoos yet, but like first year OCAD, I was like, oh man, like I don't like how English looks, but I like text tattoos. So I was like, man, what if I just like make my own like alphabet or something to work with? Because like I'm not a big fan of how English looks. I think it's not as pretty as it could be, and I have a weird obsession with making things that are my own. And I remember I was working on this like little alphabet or something, and it was just English with an alternate alphabet. Yeah. And I literally remember us sitting on that second floor and just like chatting and stuff, and you just kind of looked at me and you were just like, huh, why don't you just make your own language? And I stared at my page for a few seconds, and I was just like, god damn it, man. Because
I remember that actually.
I saw all of the work ahead of me, and I was like, I should do that though.
Yeah, totally.
Oh god.
But the thing is that I mean, I knew you could do it because you're a very driven person. You're really good at seeing things from start to end. So I knew even in the face of all that fucking work, you'd be able to do it, because that work it really is insurmountable how much work is involved in creating a language from scratch,
Yeah.
But you said it was inspired by some things, right? So,
yeah, I mean, in high school and stuff, like I used to listen to a lot of like folk metal,
right?
Which is like, it's such a weird genre for people who don't know it, but like it's really fun,
right?
But I listen to a lot of music that's not English,
right?
Like a lot of like LOAT, for example, they sing in Gaulish, which I freaking love that language. It's like Gaelic mixed with Latin.
Right.
It's like a weird bastardization of the two cultures kind of like merging.
Right.
But it sounds awesome. And then one of my other good friends showed me this band called Oxozox.
Yeah.
Which
nice.
literally did what I did. They made their own language just for the
right.
band to sing in,
yeah.
which is so cool.
What about oh crap! What's that band called with the guy with the mask? Well, I think they all wear masks.
Oh,
but
Dimmu Borgir.
Yeah, Dimmu Borgir.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they inspired some of the aesthetic stuff.
Right.
But like, not as much like the language itself.
Right.
Like I used some of the inspiration for my mask because I liked some of the things that he did. But that was more just like musical kind of aesthetic stuff. Like the look of the language. I guess it was kind of inspired a little bit by Skyrim, honestly. Like, I friggin' love Skyrim, and I love the world that it is. But yeah, like the way that the language looked like it's all scratched into the stone and stuff. That kind of hit me because I love ancient stuff. And old like Akkadian text and Sumerian used to be carved into clay. Yeah. And that's how they write. They wrote way back, like thousands of years ago. So that kind of inspired some of the overall look. And then I guess looking into a lot of like occult texts and seeing what kind of symbols people were using kind of like brought about some of the other stuff.
Okay. Back to your mask, because that was always a big. I think that was a pretty pivotal project that you did in school because you. I think we talked about it too, but you went through a little bit of a transitional period, not only with your art, but with kind of your, I guess your mindset, because you seemed like you were more like it shows in your artwork too, where it was more dark before. Yeah. And you had more of this idea of who you wanted to be, but then you kind of switched that, and I think that was around the time when you after you made the mask. So. You know, what's some kind of discussion on that? Like, what's, you know?
I feel like personality is a really like hard topic to sum up almost. Like me personally, I feel like putting on such a hard shell and not kind of like allowing myself to come through a little bit more because like I'm a pretty emotional person, but a lot of people don't see that, or a lot of people just don't get to notice a lot of that because like at school like I feel different and I guess I act different and everything.
Okay. Well, I mean I feel like a lot of people do that. Yeah. You know, they people have different shells when they're with different people or in different settings, and that's totally natural, I believe. Like people are natural social chameleons, I think. So yeah.
I think the biggest thing was that I was trying to be a lot more, I don't know, occult than I kind of wanted to be. Okay. Like, I have a lot of texts at home from that kind of, like, world of occultism and mysticism. And, like, there was at one point where, like, I was like, I'm going to read all these and be super educated in the matter and stuff. And then I was making the mask and, like, I remember I did a performance and I was like, man, I don't really care about a lot of that. Like, as cool as it is to read stuff on people's ideas, like... I don't know. I like experiencing more, right? Like that's why I think because we have a lot of chats, which is fantastic. But I feel like I learn more from those than I will learn from reading some dude's texts from like 86 years ago or something that was just like, oh, here's how magic works or whatever. Because like, I don't know. I guess this ties into spirituality a lot more, but like you know the topic of like magic and like all the kind of like stuff that people are like, oh, it's not scientific. You can't explain it, and you're dumb for believing in it. And I think a lot of me was like, oh, like this stuff is so real, and I have to be so into it to people or to make people kind of like, I don't know, view me that way almost, right? But I realized I was like, man, like I don't believe in such a like standard view of like magic or like like etherealism or whatever, because I'm not like some people like I like to make a lot of like mystic symbols and stuff in my work, like sigils, because I think they're fun and I think like they do have a little bit of like influence to them, but I'm not like, oh, I'm gonna make this sigil for a fire and I'm gonna shoot a fireball at someone, right? Because like I'm more realistic than that. So
okay, well, what does that kind of tie into your personal spiritual beliefs then?
I feel like I just kind of let go of a lot of crap.
Okay.
Like, I used to be really into, like, the idea of, like, spirits and, like, trying to work with them or something. Or, like, just getting a lot of different ideas and, like, so heavy of a spiritual belief. But, like, a lot of it wasn't mine. And I feel like that's the issue. Like, you mentioned earlier that we're both very open-minded. Yeah. And I feel like that was kind of, like, restricting me. Because I was like, oh, I have to be into this stuff.
Oh, I see.
But a lot of it, I was like, man, I don't really believe in that. Like, I don't know, there's a lot of occult texts that people wrote about, like, weird beings visiting them and then giving them, like, here's your religion now. And people are like, oh, yes, this is what I have to preach and stuff. And I'm like, man, I don't like that.
Right.
I'm not connected with that. Like, I took a few things that I kind of developed over time that were, like, really mine, and then I'm just kind of working with those now. Like, I'm not worrying about any other person's ideas of like, I don't know, how to conjure things
right.
or like how to friggin' meditate or whatever. I just kind of like do what I know and what I like.
Okay. Right.
And I feel like you influenced a lot of that too, actually.
Okay.
Because like meditation for me was always kind of a weird thing, and I guess I didn't understand it a lot. Because I looked at Buddhism a lot, and I really liked it, but again, there's things in Buddhism that I was like, I don't, like I can't get behind that.
Right.
It wasn't even that there was a problem with it. It was just like, I feel different than what this is.
No. That's
so,
fine.
like, you know, Marie's class helped a lot when she showed us like different types of meditation, and then like we started getting into it,
Right.
and that's like heavily shaped our artwork and
Yeah,
stuff.
totally.
And I feel like that's cool because, you know, like that's for both of us, because that's something that like we have that a lot of people might not have access to unless
Right.
they really know like what they're doing.
Yeah, totally. I think I agree. I'll give a little bit of background about Marie's class.
Yeah, for sure.
Marie, it's funny, we actually met up with her yesterday too.
Yeah, it was great.
But she was in one of my way earlier videos. I discussed this one class that I had with Silas and a few other of our friends, and it was phenomenal. It was mostly the metaphor and image one that was the big hitter. Even though we had Marie for the other one, but I think the first one was really the one that kind of pushed our meditation and stuff, and trying to kind of figure out our own selves out and try to push our spirituality. So basically, our prof Marie, she really tried to push us to kind of think deeper about not only our art but also our beliefs and our existence. Yeah, and just how we're so small compared to everything else, but each person still matters in the whole and stuff like that, because we're all connected. And it was really, and the weirdest thing is that stuff started happening throughout the semester, and like really weird coincidental lineups, you know, that weren't that were so coincidental that it wasn't possible that it was only coincidental, you know. And that those things that happened were just crazy, right? And it was a really emotional semester for all of us too. And I remember the last critique was I presented my work, and then I thanked Marie, and then she broke down. Like she was crying, and a bunch of other people started crying
too.
Oh my god, it was crazy. Like it's just, I mean, I think one thing that I took from I took a lot of things from that class, but one thing that I took was, you know, how one person could affect so many people, right? And that's you know, Marie affected all these people, and that always really stuck with me. But with the spirituality aspect of it, Silas and I, we've obviously experimented and dabbled in a lot of it, and a lot of it is to do psychologically, I believe. So how our minds kind of work, and then how, like, the reasoning behind the images that we produce and the things that we produce, and what those have to do with what goes on in our heads.
Yeah.
Do you think that would be correct?
Yeah, I find it really interesting that this is kind of a path that we both ended up on. Because I remember talking to you back in high school. I think it was like at the end of grade 12 or something. Like I don't think I even knew that you were gonna go to OCAD too.
Oh, true.
Which was really cool when I found that out too. Because I was like, oh, like I'm gonna have a good friend going.
Right.
And that was really exciting. But like end of grade 11. Oh, phone. There we go. Okay. Oh my god, where was I? Right. The end of grade 11 was when I started getting into spirituality and stuff, and I think some of my art teachers kind of influenced that, because I remember one of my, Mr. McClure, he was like, he went on this huge rant about, like, you know, people not being as spiritual as they used to, and how, like, it's still important in ways, and I definitely agree with that. We can get into that later, I guess, but
yeah, sure.
I remember asking you, because I was starting to get really into that stuff, like, not so much occultism, but just spirituality in general. Like, I remember reading up on a lot of different religions and belief systems and everything, because it kind of helped me get a lot of basis for what I have now, I guess. Right. But I remember asking you one day, I think I was sitting near you or something, or I remember we were outside, is what my memory's telling me, but I was like, hey man, like, are you spiritual at all or something? And you looked at me and you were like, not really, not too much. And I was like, oh, okay. He's like, yeah. And you were like, yeah, like, I haven't really gotten into it or thought about it as much, maybe. And I was like, huh. So I find it so interesting that we like ended up being like super spiritually driven people, like especially in our artwork.
Right. Yeah, smack the table.
Yeah,
break
man.
It. Good job. But yeah, no, it is funny, isn't it? Yeah, because when I was growing up, my family kind of boistered a Christian attitude, but they weren't strict on it.
Yeah.
My parents, they believed in it at first. I was baptized.
Yep.
Stuff like that. I used to carry a cross. I used to go to Bible camp.
Oh wow.
Yeah, when I was really young with
I
Hans.
didn't know that.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
But I just fell out of it because I just started disliking or not believing in certain things to do with the religion, and then at the same time I just I don't know. I felt like I think I got into a really hard time during that time, and I would pray at night, and I felt like my prayers would go unanswered, basically, and that kind of was the catalyst for me realizing that not everything's going to be handed to me, right? Like I'm going to have to go out and actively search for my own happiness. But I was still really young, so I didn't process it that way, right?
Yeah.
It's just it was kind of the blunt end of it, showing me that that there wasn't necessarily something that was constantly watching over me specifically and making my life good, you know? Yeah. So that's why I kind of fell out of that faith. But then I think when it really started was OCAD.
Yeah.
That's when stuff really started to pick up, and I do consider my spirituality more psychological, and where a lot of the stuff is in my own head. But then some crazy stuff happened, and that's where it started getting questionable, right? So that's when I started, really thinking whether it's really just in my head or if it actually is a thing outside of me.
Yeah.
But a reoccurring theme within both of our art as well is light and dark, right?
Definitely.
And it definitely kind of I think kind of a weird a dichotomy, but then at the same time a trichotomy, so that there's two sides, but then when they're together they're one.
Yeah.
So that there's three stages, right? So I think our meanings of light and dark kind of vary. So how about you go first?
Oh, okay. Sure. Like, I like working with light and dark because I feel like they are very psychological. Like they work a lot with how the mind works, or how like knowledge works. Like I use the word knowledge a lot when I do writings on this stuff, because I feel like it's like a really important, because like my entire philosophy boils down to like understanding through experience, basically. So light for me, it does represent knowledge as is, but like the biggest thing for me is like I feel people that view light or dark don't necessarily view both sides of them, right? Like they'll see light as good and they'll see dark as bad, and a lot of people tend to leave it as that, and that's something I don't necessarily agree with, because a lot of my studies that I did do into occultism and stuff, they held dark as like this like crazy like misunderstood powerful thing that you can experience that's totally different from what you get from light,
Right.
And I feel like there is a little bit of like merit to that intent, because I see light and it brings about all this kind of like nice stuff, like it's warm, and it shows you things, but like sometimes it might not show you things that you want to see, or things that you're supposed to see, or it might show you, or it might just burn you, right? Like we use a lot of fire in our works too, like just the element of fire is really strong, but that's the thing, like it's beautiful and it helps, but like it gets out of control, and it becomes this horrible destructive force, and I feel like that's kind of how light is. Like it's really powerful and it's very like direct and solid, and it like carves its way through a lot of things, like I don't know, like secrets or whatever. But like dark on the other side is like, for me especially, dark for me represents mystery. Like I when I see dark in works and stuff, I'm just like, oh man, like there's so much possibility of what could be there. Like it makes me want to learn stuff,
Right.
which is kind of cool. It is scary. Like I'm not one to be like, oh, like the dark is nothing, and I'll freaking go into a forest in the middle of the night and just be like, all right, I'm gonna be scared as hell.
Yeah.
Like
totally.
it's freaky.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like the harder part of darkness, right? Like it's so hard to get into, because you have to get over that like initial fear of the unknown.
Right.
But like I feel like once you start kind of working with it and understanding it more, it starts like revealing little things to you that might help you through other stuff that maybe like the light necessarily won't.
Right. Very interesting. I think it is very important that there are I like to believe that glass is half full.
Yeah.
That there's a good side to everything, whether how tragic it be. But I think it is important that there are weaknesses to the things that are good as well. Not necessarily in a pessimistic manner, but just to be aware of them and be able to understand that there must be balance, right?
Yep.
I think that's the key. Is that I think you're bang on about people kind of pursuing light constantly.
Yeah.
But then that could get a person into a state where if they fall into dark,
even
they're
the
not
slightest
prepared.
bit.
And then they get annihilated. They get they're lost, right?
Yeah.
With me, I used to believe that darkness was it was bad. It was something that we needed to push away, and then light would always have to prevail.
Yeah.
But as of late, especially after my studies with Tehran, that's been it's been more equalized, and it's more with me, light and dark. It exists in a person, right? It just as it exists in any room, where there's shadow and then there's light. One cannot exist without the other.
Yeah.
There can't just be light and then no shadow, and then vice versa, right? There has to be shadow to show the light, and then there has to be light to show shadow. And in a person, obviously, I think I like to compare it to and I've talked about this in another vlog, but I like to compare it to isolation versus unity. I believe that unity is light, and then isolation is dark. And both are strong in many aspects, but then they also have weaknesses, right?
Yeah.
So I think it was literally the talk that I had before this. It was about altruism versus freedom, and it's kind of the same ballpark. That altruism lies in unity, where you involves other people, but altruism is about caring for other people before yourself, right? But then freedom is about doing and believing in things what you want to do, and without anybody else's input into yours, right?
Yeah.
And with altruism, and I also talked about how you and I don't really believe in an altruism, because even when you're doing something for somebody else, you're usually getting something in return.
Even if it's just a nice feeling.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I mean, I just call it altruism just to be more simple.
Yeah.
But with altruism, if you care too much about other people, if you give yourself too much for light, then you're gonna neglect yourself.
Yeah.
Right. There have been many times that I've done that, and I'm sure there's been many times that you've done that, or other people have done that, right? They kind of get sucked into helping other people way too much, and sometimes those people, and to be honest, it's unfortunate as to how much this happens, but a lot of people help people that don't want to help themselves, right?
Yeah.
And that becomes toxic for the person who's trying to help, because what's the point, right? In the end, it's a person's choice to push themselves to get better, right? And that's their issue with light and dark, because at that point they're getting stuck in the dark. They're choosing to isolate themselves instead of seek help and go to the light. But then on the other hand, when we're talking about freedom and unity of self, right? And that's a whole another thing that I think about with the all flame and stuff, right?
Yeah.
And I discussed that in the last one. But I think that yourself is very important, right? If you don't love yourself, and then if you don't think that yourself is a valuable asset that can be used to help other people, then what's the point of helping other people, right?
Yeah. If you don't have love in yourself, then you don't have anything to give to anybody else.
Yeah.
There's no love you can help.
Yeah. Exactly.
Give.
Yeah. So with that falls into more of the mystery and discovery, right? And trying to evade the dark, and trying to pursue parts of yourself that you want to find in there, and maybe those are bits of light, right?
Yeah.
That's the thing, is that it intermingles, right? Also, I believe in the fact that in order to see the light, you have to go through shadow.
Yeah,
right.
Definitely.
And that's to do with tragedy and experience, right? Sometimes I don't want to say negative, but darker experience, like death, loss, etc. And those are really real situations that people will have to face one way or another in their lives. You can't avoid that stuff. So when it happens, there really is no other choice but to just take what's good from that,
Yeah.
So I think that's where I lie on light and dark, more or less. Obviously, it's extrapolated into the characters that I make, but for the most part. Oh, and that's another thing that we've talked about before, is that the way we meditate, you think more about places, and then I think more about characters.
Yeah.
So what do you think is the draw to that?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
Because if you look at like 99% of my artwork, it's not landscape.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
I painted a lot of figures. A lot of them I was just like, oh, I randomly thought of this character or figure or whatever. I'm going to paint them for whatever reason.
Right.
Or some of them lately have just been like markings and text and stuff.
Right.
I don't know where the landscape comes from.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like with Marie's meditations, maybe that's what got me started. Because hers were very like you find yourself in a mountain and you're walking along a path or something. But I feel like I kind of like it. Because I've been mapping out like different places that I've been, or like all these different locations that exist. It's not many now. Like the world that I have is like really tiny.
Right.
I guess that's because I don't meditate that often. But yeah, I feel like I have characters, or like things that appear, like apparitions almost, or like I'd call them entities, I guess. Like things that I've seen in the meditations that have like interacted with me or I've interacted with, but none of them are as near fleshed out as yours, because yours are very like they're personas essentially for you. So they're really helping you learn about yourself in different ways. But the things that I see, I feel like they're very separate from me. Like when I talk to them or interact with them, they might like point somewhere that I'm supposed to go, or they might tell me something, or be like, oh, like this is over here or something, and then I might never see them again, kind of thing.
Right.
Or maybe I'll have to like vanquish them or something, but that's like the end of it.
Interesting.
So yeah, I feel like that's a huge difference between us.
What about the tower though?
Oh, the tower.
Yeah.
I still don't know what that's about.
Because he had a meditation about a tower multiple times.
That's currently what's going on.
Right.
The one thing I really do like about my meditations, and that's why I'm writing about them now, like almost like book format, is that they're very sequential. Like, it's not like jumping back and forth or like seeing all these crazy stuff. Like, it's always like, I finished here, and now I'm starting from that point and going forward. The tower is such a interesting thing because I still don't know what it's about. I think that was like my third meditation that I first saw the tower like in the distance in the middle of the sea, and like I tried to get to it for like 5 meditations or something, and then like I finally got there and shit happened outside, and then I went in and so much stuff has happened inside, but like I think I'm only halfway up right now.
Right.
And it's been like
a while.
It's been a while, but it's also just been like almost exhausting, because like every time I meditate I'm like, all right, I'm back in the tower. What's gonna happen this time? Because like there's that's the thing, there's other locations that I've seen that I haven't gone to yet. There's this huge like massive stone wall gate thing in the ocean that I seen, and I remember one time I was like, man, I'm gonna try and go there today, and then I got pushed back into the tower and I was like, god damn it, like I'm stuck in here for now. so
you gotta get to that top.
I gotta get to the top, and things have told me hints about what might be at the top.
Oh, really?
But like it's still such a mystery. But it's fun to paint and it's fun to explore.
Right.
I almost feel like it's like a tower of psyche or something.
Yeah.
Or like a tower of like self.
Right.
Because every floor has been a challenge. Every floor has shown me like something that I have to defeat, or something that I have to come to terms with, or just like weird symbolic stuff that I don't quite understand yet. It's been interesting. It's given me a lot of like inspiration for artwork though.
Right.
So I'm
That's
not
good.
in too much of a rush to get to the
Right.
top. I'll get there when I get there.
Yeah, and that's what you just said too. Inspiration for making artwork. That's quintessential, right?
Yeah.
And it's that, you know, people obviously people can believe what they believe, and they can say that what we're saying is a bunch of hooey, and that's what they want to think, and that's fine. But in the end, we're producing because we're being inspired by these things, right? That we're exploring in our whether it be in our minds or something else, right?
Yep.
And that's the thing, is that you can't argue with the product, right? And that is really kind of not surprising, but just kind of it's satisfying, just knowing that taking the time to experiment and kind of follow our own beliefs and pursue them and create via those things, you know, that relationship exists, you know. So it's it's just it's physical, it's tangible, it's there.
Yeah.
But I think we're running out of time. We went actually over time. So I mean we're probably gonna have another one.
Yeah,
another
I'd love to, man.
Eventually.
This was
And
great.
thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you
Because
for
it was
having
awesome.
me.
Yeah, no, of course, anytime. Like, subscribe, and comment if you guys want to hear more and see more and do more and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And if you guys want, let us know about your thoughts and beliefs as well.
Maybe we'll make a part 2.
Yeah, exactly. Because there's still lots to talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but this is pretty much just scratching the surface. But anyways, thank you guys so much, and I'll see you in the next video.
Goodbye.
Bye.